Your salesperson sells the deal that maximizes their commission. Your purchasing manager selects the vendor that makes their life the easiest. Your division president hits their EBITDA target by cutting maintenance capex, which destroys the asset base that you're going to inherit. None of these people are acting against the company's interest out of malice. They are acting rationally in response to the incentives that they face. Agency theory explains this, and if you don't understand it, you'll keep being surprised by behavior that is mathematically entirely predictable. Hello, my name is Todd Hagopian, the original Stagnation Assassin and the author of The Unfair Advantage and The Stagnation Assassin. And today on the Stagnation Assassin MBA, we're cracking open agency theory. I'm going to tell you what they teach you in the program, what they leave out, and what you actually need to know if you're running a real business in the real world. Agency theory is the intellectual foundation of corporate governance. Understanding it is the difference between being perpetually surprised by misaligned behavior and designing systems that will actually prevent that. So let's talk about the textbook version. What does the textbook say about agency theory? And to be fair, as usual, it's not wrong. Agency theory was formalized by Michael Jensen and William Meckling in their landmark 1976 paper called The Theory of the Firm: Managerial Behavior, Agency, Costs, and Ownership Structure. Really exciting stuff. The framework addresses the relationship between a principal, someone who delegates work, and an agent, the person who performs it. Agency theory argues that when principals and agents have different interests, agents have information that principals don't. Agents will use that informational advantage to serve their own interest at the principal's expense. Think about that for a minute. The costs of this alignment, called agency costs, include monitoring costs, like what the principal spends to observe agent behavior, bonding costs, what agents spend to demonstrate their loyalty, and residual loss, the value destroyed by remaining misalignment despite monitoring and bonding. Jensen and Meckling applied this framework primarily to the shareholder manager relationship, arguing that managers of corporations have incentives to consume excessive prereqs, avoid risk, and invest in long term value creation because they bear only a fraction of the cost of bad decisions but capture significant private benefits from them. The real world debrief. Let's see where this holds water. Agency theory earns its tuition as a diagnostic framework for understanding organizational dysfunction. When I enter a turnaround situation and behaviors seem irrational, managers are making decisions that are clearly bad for the business, agency theory is my first diagnostic lens. What incentives are these people facing? What information do they have that I don't? What private costs of benefits are shaping their choices? Almost always, the irrational behavior becomes entirely rational when viewed through the agency lens, which tells me that this framework makes a lot of sense. Before you call behavior irrational, though, map the incentives. What looks like dysfunction from the outside is almost always rational self interest from the inside. Agency theory also earns its tuition in incentive design. Understanding that agents have private information and self interest changes how you design performance metrics, compensation structures, and even reporting requirements. But let's look at the operating room and see where this breaks down. And remember, here's where the professors sit down and the operators stand up. Agency theory has three operational limitations. Limitation one: it assumes purely self interested agents. Real humans are more complex than that, right? Many employees are motivated by purpose, identity, team loyalty in ways that agency theory doesn't model. An exclusive focus on incentive design as the solution to alignment problem neglects the power of culture, leadership, and mission in shaping behavior, because that stuff really does matter. Intrinsic motivation is real, though. It can't be purchased with incentive design. Limitation two: incentive design can produce perverse outcomes. The history of performance incentives is full of cases where well designed incentive systems produced exactly the wrong behavior. Wells Fargo's account opening initiatives produce massive fraud. GE's EPS focus produced financial engineering that destroyed long-term value. Agency theory tells you that agents respond to incentives, but it doesn't tell you that you have the right incentives that are always obvious. Every incentive system you design will be gamed. The question is whether it's gamed in ways that help the business or hurt it. Limitation 3, monitoring is expensive and it has limits. The principal can monitor the agent, but monitoring costs money. It takes management attention and it creates a compliance culture that everyone hates and can suppress initiative and trust. Organizations that rely primarily on monitoring to solve agency problems tend to develop the exact bureaucratic defensive behaviors that agency theory predicts, just aimed at the monitor rather than at the business. So let's talk about the operator's upgrade. 3 agency theory interventions that actually work. First, align the unit of measurement with the full unit of decision authority. If a division president can make decisions that affect capital, but is only measured on the income, the agency problem is structurally guaranteed. Measure people on the metrics they can control. Measure them on the metrics that align with value creation. ROIC, by the way, is the best alignment metric for most general managers. Second, reduce information asymmetry through transparency rather than through monitoring. Make financial results, operational metrics, and strategic priorities visible to everyone affected by them. When agents can see the same information as the principals, the informational advantage that enables agency behavior starts to shrink. Third, select for alignment rather than relying on incentives to create it. The most powerful agency solution is hiring people whose values and interests are genuinely aligned with the organization's goals. Culture selection is more durable than incentive design. The Stagnation Assassin verdict on here is weaponize it. Agency theory is most useful framework for understanding organizational dysfunction. Misaligned behavior is almost never random. It's the predictable output of misaligned incentives and information asymmetry. Learn to map the agency relationships in your organization, diagnose the incentive misalignments, and correct them before that behavior that they produce compounds into a strategic problem. That's agency theory, why people don't do what you want and what you can do about it. For more on organizational alignment and performance, grab The Unfair Advantage or Stagnation Assassin on Amazon. Follow the Stagnation Assassin show, and please visit toddhagopian.com for more information. Remember, don't manage the behavior, manage the incentives that produce it. The behavior is just the symptom.